Hello everybody and welcome to this month's Bunker Chat. My name is Ólafur Hrafn Steinarsson. With me as always is Mundi Panzer, our creative director, co-founder and fearless leader.
Nice to meet you all, guys.
Well, they've met you before, Kummi.
Yeah.
A couple of
be
times.
here
Most
with
of
you
them.
or whatever.
Most
yeah.
of them. But we have a lot of really cool and fun stuff to talk about today.
Indeed.
Probably these are probably the most exciting Bunker Chats that we get to do because we just announced a new expansion.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about KARDS Legions.
Legions. So the name is a reference to military organization or units in a certain army, which was the Polish army. And so that is the main feature in our new expansion. We are adding Poland as a playable nation, as an ally nation, of course. But then, of course, we are adding a bunch of cards for all the nations and new keywords and a lot of interesting stuff.
So this is a total of 84 new unique cards.
Yeah.
So that's not counting like the duplicates. So like each standard is only counted once, right?
Yeah. 84 unique.
Yeah. So how does this compare to like previous expansions in size?
It's pretty similar to Breakthrough.
Okay.
And we will probably be following this one up as well with an addition. So the set size will probably be over 100, somewhere,
okay.
Maybe 110 or something like that.
That's awesome. And how many Polish cards are we getting?
I think they are definitely the biggest nation in the expansion. I think the last number I heard was 20. 20 Polish, and then you have like 12 of the main nations and a couple of Italian and French cards as well.
That's awesome. Well, we are extremely excited to welcome Poland to the KARDS family and to give us just a little quick insight into the history of Poland relating to the Second World War. I edited together a little clip of historical footage, so let's roll that.
After so many wars and so much suffering, Poland needed peace. She did everything to secure it. She concluded non-aggression pacts with both her neighbors and hoped that this eternal fire burning over the tomb of her unknown warriors would be a symbol of a phase in her life which had passed forever.
But this was not to be. In September 1939, in defiance of his treaty, Adolf Hitler's army made a sudden and unprovoked attack. After a few weeks of fighting, the whole country was overrun and devastated.
The Polish Navy had already fought its way out of the Baltic and crossing the North Sea reached the shores of Britain, where the White Eagle went into action alongside the White Ensign. And here, training in British machines, is the Polish Air Force that was later to play its brilliant part in the defense of Britain.
Yep, that was Poland, a little sneak peek. This was from the movie This is Poland, and all courtesy of the appropriate license holders. So, Kummi, we just got a little glimpse into Poland, and what we saw there was a country that got kind of ambushed, that held on resiliently. Tell us about how we're translating history into KARDS when it comes to Poland.
Yeah, so I mean, they of course, like you say, they were overwhelmed a bit in the beginning of the war. They were the first nation to fight against Germany, and but they fought really heroically for as long as they could. And we tried to reflect that in our designs, but also a very important part in how we designed Poland is that they kept on fighting, even if they lost Poland. A lot of the Polish forces went to defend France, and then they went over the channel to Britain, and they kept on fighting and played a major role in the Battle of Britain. And then you had Polish units fighting as part of the Red Army as well, and they were everywhere, and they kept on fighting. They were fighting in Italy, in Monte Cassino, and did a lot of really hard fighting against Germany, and they never gave up, and they ended up victorious, which is quite incredible.
I mean, I think around like this expansion, we've kind of been sharing stories and links to articles about Poland in the Second World War, and I just remember reading about, you know, these Polish fighter pilots that went over to Britain, and you know, when their ammo would run out of the guns, they would just ram like planes, and like, you know, they would fly above them and then like lower them into the sea and all that kind of stuff. And you know, they were just known for this. They were fearless. They were absolutely fearless fighters.
Yeah, and they already had you know, gathered some experience already, some combat experience, and the Polish army was, of course, quite famous as being a really powerful army before the war, but they didn't have all the modern technology, and they had, you know, some poor communication systems and things like that. So, and Germany, of course, was one step ahead of everyone in that game at the outbreak of the war.
Yeah, absolutely. So will there be any new keywords in the set?
Yes, there will be, definitely.
We're not spoiling them now.
We're not spoiling them now, no, let's keep that a bit.
All right, well, we'll leave it at that. When it comes to Legions, make sure you guys check out KARDS Legions. It's going to be landing on May 31st. Pre-orders are available in the client right now. And if you buy the pre-order, you can secure yourself a couple of early access packs and get your hands on those sweet, sweet cards a little bit earlier. So I highly recommend you do that.
I think this is the 25th. That you can then start using those.
Yes, the 25th. And I was asked to clarify some things in chat, like will we be able to complete to purchase the full set in the way that was possible with Catalyst? So the answer to that's going to be no, not with the Legions at least. But we're looking to potentially, you know, add to the set in the same way we did with Catalyst later on, and we're looking at similar publishing options there.
It could be something like that. We could also go with some campaign content and tie it into that, and you know, so there are some different options on the table.
Yeah, we don't know exactly how, but we kind of like this idea of, you know, the mini sets being more kind of purchasable as a complete set.
Yeah.
Right? So yeah, it's gonna be pretty fun. But that moves us over to the next topic, and that's going to be tournaments. So before we go into the tournament overview for the next 3 months, I wanted to congratulate our KARDS Open champion this month. That was Darkness. He's back to his winning ways, claiming his third KARDS Open title in KARDS Open number 5. So he's won a majority of them. He went into a little bit of a slump, but now he's back with a vengeance. But he was definitely given a run for his money by his teammate in Wild Eyes on Team Ammo, who came in second, as well as Birdo Burrito and Colt Bosnick, who came in third and fourth, respectively. A huge shout out to those guys, and a huge shout out to the Chinese community for taking all top 3 spots in the OCC this month, and a lot for the Western world to prove in this upcoming OCC. So let's bring up the tournament schedule for May and see what we have in store there. There you go. The first tournament, even though it's not first on the list there, you know, it's going to be the Officer Club Championship play-ins. We recently changed the Officer Club Championship to now feature the top 36 players on the ladder, where the top 4 are guaranteed into the top 8, whereas the next 32 compete against each other for the remaining top 4 spots. Now, while that's going on May 12th, we're going to be introducing a new type of tournament. This is called the Weekday Skirmish. These are smaller, single elimination, quick fire tournaments that will be run over a couple of different time zones during the day. This is where we will be experimenting with new different game modes, and we kind of deliberately made these shorter, easier for people to enter, and easier for people to have fun. You can jump in, you can enter for free, you can get knocked out in round number 2 and have a lot of fun, and it won't take up 24 hours. So. Then following that, May 23rd, we have the Officer Club Championship Finals. That's going to be a broadcast that we are leveling up the quality of, and I can't wait to do the first Officer Club Championship Finals in the new format. Then we're following that up with another Weekday Skirmish. This time it's going to be a main nation only before concluding the month with a KARDS Open 6. If we jump over to June, we'll be able to see something similar. June has another set of awesome tournaments for us. They got the Officer Club Championship Play-ins. They got the Weekday Skirmish. This one's going to be Axis versus Allies. Then they got the June Officer Club Championship Finals and the Weekday Skirmish Singleton. And then the KARDS Open 7 to round out the month. The Opens are still going to kind of remain the similar format, standard format, Swiss rounds into an elimination bracket with a $1,000 prize pool. Now, finally, let's bring up July to cap out the 3-month tournament plan here. We start that with the Officer Club Championship play-ins. Then we do a Weekday Skirmish that I think is going to be interesting. It's going to be infantry or air or tank and artillery only.
Yeah, that's super interesting.
I think that's going to be pretty interesting. And July 18th, we got the Officer Club Championship Finals. July 21st, another Weekday Skirmish. There's a typo there. That's not actually going to be the same format. This is going to be Italy or France ally only.
Cool.
So we're kind of really wanting to see people explore with those themes.
Yeah.
Before rounding out July with KARDS Open number 8. So I am super excited about these tournaments. I am so excited to see how these kind of shorter, maybe 32-person single elimination tournaments that take a couple of hours or 3 hours are going to play out. I think they're going to be a lot of fun. I think we're going to see new participants. But as always, we're looking for your feedback, so make sure to let us hear it if we're not doing it good enough. What do you think about the tournaments?
Super exciting.
You always watch, right?
Yeah, I mean not always maybe, but yeah, every other tournament.
Not
But I
always.
usually check. I usually check in, but I maybe not watch the whole stream every time.
Yeah, I see how it is.
Don't ask me this question live.
I mean, it's clear that I bore him. Okay. All right, well, let's move on to our next point. That has to do with recent balance changes and the future of balance at KARDS. So recently, we have made some interesting changes to the way we balance the game. We've slowed it down a bit. We introduced this feature where you can now recycle cards that got changed back into wild cards. What's the point of these changes, and how do we kind of envision balance going forward? And then maybe you can cap it off with a little context about draw denial.
Yeah, so I mean, we got quite strong feedback from the Chinese community that we were doing these nerfs or these balancing changes too frequently. I mean, we got the feedback from the whole community, but it was especially from the Chinese community, that one. And also that we were a bit heavy-handed sometimes in slaughtering some meta decks with changes. And also, and of course that if we were nerfing cards, there was no compensation for those cards. And players had, spent their valuable resources to create some cards they wanted to use, and then we kind of came and slashed them. So I think that was a really fair request, and we just went working on that pretty fast to create the recycle feature. But that also allows us to maybe keep on a little bit with the nerf hammer. Of course, we want to strengthen some themes within the game, but there are also some themes we want to kind of draw the teeth out of the fangs out of a little bit. And maybe the most prominent there is the draw denial mechanic. Not so much discard. We think discard can be fun, and it's very thematic discard. You are taking the resources of the enemy, and warfare is a lot about resources. But the problem with the pure draw denial that we only have on like a handful of cards, is that it kind of takes away completely your hope, you know, if you get faced with it. Especially if it's stacked together. I mean, you don't get to draw cards a few turns in a row, and that kind of is not the game experience we want with cards. I mean, all is fair in love and war, like they say, but you know, some things are just more fun than others, and some are less fun. And I mean, it's the same principle for why we wanted to change and nerf resistance.
Yeah.
Resistance basically did this as well. It denied you completely of the draw again and again and again, and we don't like that. I mean, with regular discard, you can always draw the right card, and you know, you can draw 4 cards and you're back. You know,
we've seen that with people running like phony wars and stuff, you know, in their decks to counter that.
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, there was a lot of suggestions of doing it in some other ways and using some other cards to do it, but we kind of just thought about it. What is the core problem? Draw denial purely, it just isn't really fun. So let's just take a hard look at those cards and change them. And so we changed the Panther, and we're gonna change the Woolpack card as well. We might leave Admiral Hipper as it is, because it's only one card, it's elite, and you know, if it's not stacked with the others, then it's probably fine.
I also think like Admiral Hipper is a slightly different card for me, because you know, you put the unit back into the opponent's hand, and that gives them something to play, right? Where it becomes like problematic for me is when you get like Hippered and then it gets discarded from your hand, and then you get draw denied as well, and then so like, I mean, I'm not a game designer. I do get quite a lot of discussions and questions about game balance, but like, I'm not a game designer. And even though I have, you know, my personal opinions of the balance of the game, it's like game design is a specialty for a reason, right? Like experienced game designers, they can think about the game in a kind of a different way and understand how to appeal to different audiences. But like, from my perspective, you know, I was just, you know, we need to make it more fun, right? Like, and that just wasn't very fun.
And just also, I mean, sometimes we just have to admit that we just make mistakes, and I think by introducing this draw denial feature into the game and it becoming so prominent was just a mistake or by us all-knowing game designers. So, but when we make mistakes, we need to be able to fix them, and. But we want to do it gradually and be more careful also in our future designs.
Yeah, and I mean, you mean to tell me that you're not all knowing, Gumi? That you, I mean, I've also made the case. I've made the case that sometimes our community is just too good at the game, right?
Yeah.
Like, they sometimes just find these like weird hidden combos that like nobody even knew existed, and. This has oftentimes kind of spiraled into being a very kind of oppressive deck or something like that, right? I mean, look at like the Soviet Arty deck that came out. That didn't use like a ton of recently changed cards or something. It was lying there. It kind of could be crafted.
And there were things in there that we knew could be an issue, but we didn't really. We underestimated it. But we also did change, of course, supply chain, and we also changed first rifles. We might change night witches also. Because those are also a little bit problematic cards, because they are kind of they're overriding the regular deck size, which is kind of allows them to go for an alternative win, which is, you know, having the opponent emptying their deck, you know, and only doing that, which also creates gameplay which is not super fun.
Yeah. No, I mean, I get you.
So there are some themes we are really looking hard at.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's healthy for any game to do that, and I think that's also, you know, I think we have a kind of difficult line to straddle as well, because we have like a very real thing in the Second World War that we're making a game around, So there are like some hard limitations to like what we can't do and what we can make things do. So, sometimes we have to break those limitations for the good of the game. Sometimes we have to break it for the good of the game being fun.
Yeah.
So it's kind of a difficult balance. We can't just like, invent like a new country that participated in the war and had like all these characters that perfectly resonate with the next audience that we want to reach with a game. Like we have restrictions that other games don't.
Absolutely. I mean, a lot of our players are really interested in World War II, and they, the game needs to be, plausible, or it needs to be make sense. And I think that it is challenging, but it's also a fun challenge, because sometimes we get it really right, and then it kind of now it feels right, and it's also fun. So that's what we're always aiming for. Sometimes we get it, sometimes a little less.
What I like as well is the way I've always thought about like testing, for instance, is, let's say you have a 100-person testing team, right? That's still a big testing team, and they're, testing like 8 hours a day or something for a month. But then you release the thing out into the wild, and within like the first hour, just because of the pure scale of people playing the content now, you have more man hours, into the expansion or into the new set of cards than you ever could get within testing, right? So for me, it's never really a shock that you can't necessarily catch everything. One thing we just recently, I think we just changed it today, right? Which was the Mare Nostrum change. So you can now only target ally units.
Yeah.
And another thing, that's like, again, the community finding, insane ways. The first time I got like reverse Mare Nostrum heel killed by Japan, like, man, I was so impressed. I wasn't even mad.
Yeah.
All right, well, that's kind of the scheduled talk that we have, but now we're going to go into some live questions. We have a few of them in chat already. One comes from XHate78X. I think you should pick a more positive name, XHate. Unless you're saying like cross out hate.
No, X-hate is like love, I guess.
Yeah. If that's the meaning, then all for it. Let's remove the hate, right? But he asks, are you planning on launching tournaments without third-party software, just within KARDS game interface? And I'll happily answer this one. So I don't know if you noticed the Easter Blitz event that we did over Easter. These were in-client tournaments, and that was kind of the first step in us building out that feature. We learned a lot of valuable information there, both on the technical side of running tournaments in the client, as well as the user flow. They were extremely popular. Over 30% of the player base participated in these tournaments, and I think we had like over 8,000 tournaments being played over the course of the week. So we were really happy with the response that received. Now we're just in the phase of looking at, what did we build here? What do we need to make this a full-fledged feature? What do we want it to be able to do, right? Should it support Swiss rounds, ladders, double elimination, single elimination, maximum of 32 people or 8,000 people? These are the things that we're figuring out now.
$1,000 entry fee.
$1,000 entry fee. I'm not gonna lie, I would love that. Like, if you could watch a high-stakes cards game where it's like a winner takes all, and you have like an 8-person tournament where everybody paid $1,000, man, I would watch that. But maybe later. So it's on the roadmap, but we're not quite there yet. It could still be a couple of months, but it's something we're looking at. Gimme Legend says no draft tourney. So draft tourneys are actually not on that tournament plan. It is something that we are looking into. We had it on the plan, I think a couple of months ago, but we took a good hard look at draft, and we decided we wanted to tweak it and make it a better gameplay experience before we started, pouring people into it with tournaments.
Yeah, definitely. And I'd like to add to that maybe that our kind of data mining after doing some changes to the draft are quite positive. It's not perfect yet, of course, not perfectly balanced between the nations, but it has improved quite significantly, and we are planning to do more balancing changes there.
Yeah, and I think we're already seeing some positive changes.
Absolutely, yeah.
To how that is being played out and kind of balanced out win rates, and this is something like, you know, we hadn't touched draft in a while, and it kind of just happened, right? Like, you know, it didn't really change anything, but as the collection evolved and the skill of draft players became higher, there were players that were consistently, you know, manipulating the system to get like a 90% win ratio or something.
Yeah.
So, all right, next one. Do you already have an idea when you'll release KARDS mobile? You want to take this?
Yes, so an idea, yes. A date I want to mention, or a month, no. But we are still working at looking at early next year. But there are some various factors, who unknown factors that will affect that. But it is one of our top priority things.
Yeah. I mean, this is something that we've talked about kind of a few times. I think the big theme, like, that I want to highlight when answering this question is we made the very conscious decision not to announce a new time. Right?
Yeah.
Like, we're not going to sit here and say like, oh, it's coming in 3 months, because the truth is we don't really know, and we don't want to disappoint you guys again. But we are, you know, acutely aware that 70% of the CCG market is on mobile these days. You know, so going out on mobile is a huge milestone for us, and you know, is something that you know, could be significant in the history of the company. So of course we're working
Absolutely.
towards that.
And also, I mean, just as it is an expected feature of any CCG to be cross-platform, and of course, that is also a service we want to provide to our existing players.
So I am Bazoo, which I don't know if is Spoos in disguise, but he asks, who do you think is the sexiest KARDS player, and why your answer is Spoos? I mean, I think this guy right here is the sexiest KARDS player.
Ooh!
Look at that guy. Look at that guy. It's an Icelandic beauty. This is what clean air,
here, man.
natural and clean water, healthy living does to you.
Bathing in volcanic ash and hot springs.
Yes. Dynamo asks, can we get tourneys geared for us on the opposite side of the planet, Asia, West Coast, NA? Yes, Dynamo, we will be running the weekly skirmishes in a more kind of in different time zones, so that we're going to be catering to those different groups, and it should be easier to kind of participate in those. So yes, when we will see stuff like, you know, the opens, we did do a China Open recently. When we will see these things pop up for things like Oceania or other regions, I think, you know, my take is that we need to build our player base first. Once we reach a critical mass, then we can definitely start justifying running local tournaments for single markets. But you know, at the moment, we aren't quite there, and it's fun, you know, that we're talking about mobile, because mobile is probably the thing that's going to get us closest to it.
Yeah.
So. Any reveals today? No, but what we can reveal is that spoiler season will begin on Monday.
Yeah, I think we can safely say that you will see at least 4 of the cards from the expansion Monday.
Wait, are they all going out Monday? Weren't we going to do one a day?
Oh.
I think we're going to do one a day,
Oh,
like
okay,
all of next week.
Okay, sorry.
We don't want to spoil these guys.
No, that's true.
So
One day, that's enough. Patience is a virtue.
That's true. So, are there any more questions? Any questions about, you know, Poland, the design of Poland, the upcoming Legion's expansion? Anything else? Let me see, did I miss something? Doesn't look like we missed something. Have you completely ruled out going infinite as a Soviet strategy going forward? Jaking is not happy.
Are we talking about night witches and
Yes.
first rifles? I mean, nothing is permanently ruled out, but I think as it is, as it stands, as an enabler for this kind of super control strategy, I think it's just not a good gaming experience. Although, I mean, of course, it requires skill and to do it and pull it off, and it's it might not be the most powerful thing or so, but you know, yeah, I'm not a big fan of the overall strategy.
Yeah, I mean, I think one thing that I think it plays a big part in a lot of these discussions on these themes that we're talking about is like the game perception on both sides, right? It's like I can 100% relate to and understand that it must feel extremely satisfying to perfectly pilot a deck to the point where you absolutely control your opponent and you know, correctly respond to his every move throughout him emptying his entire deck and throwing like everything but the kitchen sink at you, and then at the end of the day, you know, you stand up victorious. I think on the flip side, it probably doesn't feel great when you've thrown everything and like the kitchen sink and it just all gets dealt with. And you then end up just going like infinite against some guy and dying over the course of, you know, 3 or 4 turns where you can't draw.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think that's kind of the balance of experience that we need to think about, that both players can have fun, win or lose.
Yeah, and I mean also maybe another thing, I mean we are really, I mean we want to have, and I think we can really build a good competitive scene in cards, and cards is a pretty deep game. But maybe to coin some of these changes and these design concepts that we're thinking about, we just don't think that cards necessarily needs to be the most hardcore card game out there. It should not be the, you know, EVE Online of card games. Just to take an example that is close to us.
I mean, we do have some players that love spreadsheets, Gubby. I mean,
Yeah.
let's not take all hope away from them. You can still use spreadsheets in cards.
Yeah, definitely, definitely. But I mean, and I don't think the game needs it to be fun, in a way.
All right. Will other minor nations like Finland be considered? Yes, in the
Yes.
future. We don't know when. We're not going to like spam in ally nations.
It will be KARDS Sisu, the Finnish people that know that. Oh, I don't know.
All right. Will you move spying from Soviet to Poland? No. But you know, who knows? Poland were quite prolific.
They played a big part in the whole information warfare part of the war. Yeah.
Yeah.
Both for the Soviets and but also mostly for the Allies.
So XM 1939, he asks, might have missed the answer. Do the pre-sale bundles contain the complete set? No, but like we talked about it earlier, that this set is basically like similar size to Breakthrough, and I believe the largest pre-order in Breakthrough was like 95% of the set. You know, so like I think it was, you know, there is a number of officer packs where you pretty much, because there's duplicate protection on specials and elites, you will very easily be able to, you know, get pretty much the entire set through those pre-orders. So it's not like one-to-one, you buy the entire thing and it's just there. You get to open the packs, and but you will have most of it, I think, at the end of it. I wonder how Poland will look in Legions. You're just gonna have to keep on wondering, X8, until we start showing you some cards.
I think they look awesome. They will be cool.
Yeah. You know what? Like, so we have the kind of red color pretty strong, you know, with the Soviets and that kind of stuff. But like Poland has such glorious kind of red and white contrasts that I really like. So I'm excited about that.
Yeah, and some really good artwork that we have for them as well.
Yeah. And we got some, will we have any non-tournament events? So yes, when and exactly how they're gonna look like, don't know, but this is something we have talked about. To give you just the additional context there, you know, what's always facing us is like, let's say we wanted to do like a limited time game mode with some custom rules or something. We have to build like a system, we have to build a user flow, we have to build this, we have to build this, and that maybe takes like half the team away from working on the core game for 2 weeks. So the rate at which we're kind of getting out these features like Easter Blitz and that kind of stuff could be higher, and we want to kind of increase it. But like, that's kind of the way we're looking at it. Easter Blitz went well. Now what's the next step in terms of in-game events? So yes, we're looking at it. Yes, we are aware and cognizant of like not everyone just always wants tournaments. Maybe we do something similar to the D-Day event we did last year.
Yeah.
So yeah, more double XP.
Yeah, I think that's a given. That was fun.
That was awesome. I had so much fun with double XP. And I'm a little bit behind in chat, but like if you guys loved double XP, please throw some stuff in the chat, because it felt so good. Like I used the double XP weekend to play Germany, and I had like basically not played Germany at all. I think I had Britain at level 125 and Germany in level 8.
Yeah.
So I think I ended the weekend with Germany in like level 70 or something.
Yeah.
Like I just power grinded Germany. It was so good.
We need to improve the UX a little bit, you know, so when you get the double XP, it like goes, does something extra. It's a bit raw as it is.
Yeah. Gold cards. Any new ways to get them, and when are the reworks going to come out?
I mean, they're pretty much ready, but we haven't really decided when we're gonna put them out there, the new versions. There are some UI things we want to include, and probably we want to allow people to choose whether they use them and things like that. So no clear answer, but soon.
I mean, what I can say is like, I'm really excited about the rework. I mean, I feel like we're much closer to where we wanted to be with the gold cards originally in this new design than where they are in the game at the moment.
I agree.
I'm really, really excited about that. As a mostly aggro deck player, I hate guard units. Are you adding cards to deal with them to a nation other than USA? I mean, I think most nations have some ways to deal with guard units. You know, Sendai, outflank. I mean, you have a ton of removal options in Italy and stuff as well. Defend in deep or something. Defend in the depth from France recently. So I think we have quite a few ways to deal with guard units. Another thing is like amphibious assault. Most guard units are under 3 attack or 3 or lower. Exceptions being like, you know, Grand Guards and Seafoil Highlanders and stuff, but like you get all of that.
Britain has quite a few of the most difficult ones. But they are there for a reason. They're to protect the poor players against the aggro players.
Yeah, that's true. So, why is my phone always ringing? So do you have plans yet for some sort of national progression for the ally nations? It is weirdly difficult to get non-faction specific wildcards for the minor standard cards.
I didn't quite get the what is the question?
So can we basically progress through wildcards in France and Italy and Poland then?
We don't have any plans to add specific tracks for them, but if this is a real problem that they are hard to get by, the Italian and French cards and the Polish ones then now, we will definitely try to do something about that. And I think one of the things we might look into is adding some wildcards into daily missions, for example. So you would have like specific, because we have missions that revolve around you having certain allies. We could do that, but yeah, we'll definitely look into it. It's a really good question.
So can you allow us to preload decks to play against the CPU? Even if it's not the sharpest AI, it would be a real benefit and perhaps fun for some solo scenario building.
So you wanna give some
the
decks
AI,
to the AI and play against it. Yeah, that's a cool idea. We haven't. It's not on the drawing board at the moment, but I like it.
What are the developers' thoughts regarding the crate system?
That's a bit of an open-ended question.
I have thoughts.
Okay, share them, please.
I mean, so I kind of like the crate system. My biggest pet peeve with the crate system is that it isn't very visually clear. Like, once you know about it, then you understand it, and you can kind of feel all right when you open duplicates. But until then, I sometimes feel a little bit underwhelmed.
Yeah, I agree. At the early stages, it is you don't get much into the crate, and then it's kind of irrelevant, and it's kind of feels like waste of a feature. On the other, completely on the other side of the spectrum, then maybe it's also irrelevant because you have so much of stuff that you don't really care what you get out of it. So. But somewhere in between there, I think it works pretty well. And of course, we need some place for the surplus cards to turn into something, so they just don't disappear.
I think I have I think my crate is at like 230% or something. I'm saving up.
Yeah, but it's definitely I think we can definitely improve it a bit. So we'll be looking into that.
All right, then, so adding new card backs, and will it ever be possible to purchase ones offered in the past? Yes, we will be adding new card backs, and yes, it will be possible to purchase them that we have made available in the past. We've kind of we're kind of getting to the point where we have a pretty good cadence in how we kind of roll out these card backs and different items. So yeah, let's see what we can make happen. For sure. I mean, there's one coming with the pre-orders, with the Poland card back coming with Legions. So yeah. With the new expansion and Poland being added, are there plans to add additional deck slots?
Of course, yeah, this one comes up in most of the AMAs. We are looking more into allowing you to order your slots better. But there's nothing saying that we can't add one more page. It's only one line of code.
So an unnamed game did a very smart move back in the day, where you had like a limited number of pages to do something on. I'm not gonna name this, and then everyone was saying, I need more pages, and they just sold them more pages.
Yeah.
So, I mean, we're not quite there, but like we are looking into the functionality
with exponential increase in price.
Yes, pretty much.
The fourth page is like really expensive.
Yeah, you could buy it as a bundle as well, and it was that was. But like to that company's credit, they rolled it back a few years back. A few years later, we're like, okay, that was a mistake. We shouldn't have done that.
I've never been really fond of the idea of selling like UI, things like that.
I agree with that. So what happens with your ladder skill ranking card back at the start of next season if you maintain or change from the last season? So your ladder skill ranking card will basically always represent the ranking you were in the month before. So, if you have the Field Marshal card back and you are still Field Marshal, you will keep it. If you have it, but then fall down to silver, you won't. So, how much do you expect cards to grow over the next 12 months, and where does that growth come from? That's a really, really good question. Daniel, Plainview 18. I appreciate that. It's a very business-oriented question.
Yeah, we don't get those all the time, especially the part of where does it come from.
Yeah.
So I mean, currently we are on Steam only with our PC only version of the game. We are, or actually now recently you can also go to our webpage and get our launcher and get the game directly from there. We're still ironing out some slight issues with the launcher, but that means also that we can do much more direct marketing, which will be really interesting. We are also looking at other platforms, which I'm not going to go into the details of, but then of course the biggest growth opportunity for our game is when we go on mobile. But whether that will be, I certainly hope that will be within the next 12 months.
Yeah.
So I'm just, cautiously going to predict that we're going to grow tenfold. I'm
just going to say diamond hands to the moon. That's all I'm going to say. 12 months, diamond hands to the moon. That's, that's all we need to know.
Exactly.
But thank you so much for that question, Daniel. I really appreciate it. It's a really good and thought-out question.
And maybe as a very quick follow-up on that, I mean, I think a lot of things in the game will also improve and the game will be much more fun if we have, even if just a bit bigger community.
I agree. And I think what comes with that is you start to reach critical mass for people that want to get different things out of the game, right? So you'll get a really robust competitive scene, and you might get a really robust role-playing scene, right? Maybe we would get an actual good community for people to come in and just play historically accurate decks and have fun with the game in that way. And that's all community-based, and it's all just based on the number of people that you have to interact with that share kind of your way of wanting to enjoy the
Exactly, and it will also open up so much opportunity for us, because today, because the community is, just relatively small, we are quite cautious about adding, for example, new game modes, because we don't want to split up the community too much, making for longer wait times and matchmaking issues and so on.
I mean, we already see how fickle that can be, right? Just with different time zones and populations of players playing and so on, right? So
Indeed.
We definitely don't want to at this point in time split the community into further buckets and nobody will ever find the game. So any plans to invite the big players from other CCGs to promote the game and reach more audience? Yes. The unfortunate thing is normally when it comes to working with influencers, if the game KARDS isn't giving them additional followers and viewers and that kind of stuff, there normally are paid opportunities around games that will do that for most content creators. And then if you go to the top cream of the crop, then they tend to be really, really expensive. So we have to kind of toe the line there. Now, the strategy we've kind of taken in this is, we did the That Works video where they crafted the Tanto blade, and that was, we thought about that as this is a collaboration with, a YouTube channel to promote the game, but this is also a service to our community by giving them, engaging content, historical background, and so on.
But it would be really, really interesting, of course, and good for us to get. Especially some big names from the other big CCGs, because I mean, a lot of players, of course, we know, try out all the games in this genre, and I'm always really happy when I read some of these reviews, for example, from veterans from other games that praise our game, and feel that we have something really special to offer.
Yeah, agreed. What are your guys' favorite food?
That's a really good question. It's definitely not traditional Icelandic food. I like spicy food, so I would say,
Okay.
you know, Indian or good Thai food can also be incredibly good. But you know, Mediterranean food also, you know, Italian food and so on is incredible.
Give me some hangikjöt, rófustappa and uppstúfur, Guðmundur, and I will be good. It's a very Icelandic dish. It's like smoked leg of lamb.
Some of that stuff is actually incredibly good. And I mean, asking favorite food is a little bit like asking, you know, what's your favorite song? You know, it's impossible to answer. There are so many things, especially when you're getting a little bit older and more open-minded like we are.
Yeah. That's true. Plans for gold crafting with wildcards. I have several hundred wildcards I can't spend at the moment. I mean, I definitely think like unspent wildcards is something that, you know, has to be looked at some point. How we solve that, I don't know. Gold card crafting with them isn't something we've actively looked at the moment, but who knows? I think like that's a similar answer to the question of like, can I break my higher rarity wildcards into lower rarity ones, right? Like the wildcard system was built with a purpose of giving players, you know, more autonomy over how they progress their collection by moving a part of the rewards from being random cards to being something that they can choose, while still kind of maintaining the same ratio of cards that were given out. So, you know, if we see that the system isn't performing to the point that we want it to, then we will make changes. And I think like the minor nation mentioned, right, is an excellent example of that, where, you know, the wildcard system and the national progression track need some additional love and work to take care of the minor nations.
Yeah, definitely.
Are you planning to do anything with gold cards so I don't see surplus ones in my collection? It looks messy. We're looking into that, yes. X8. Looking into UI versions for that. Cards merch when? So I've sent out a couple of emails, Arizona. I am waiting on replies. But I promised you guys, I think like 4 months ago or something, that I would start working on this in Q1 this year, and I did. I can confidently say that I did. So slowly but surely, we're working our way there. More campaigns in the future?
Definitely. I mean, that is definitely the type of content that fits really well with the World War II theme, and our experience of you know, theaters of war has just been great. It was really well received, and most new players are still, you know, buying it, and yeah. So, and we can definitely do it even better, I think. Use what we learned from that one.
Yeah.
And yeah, so the answer is definitely yes, more campaigns.
Airball, could you expand on are you going to address the MMR gain and loss on the ladder question? And I can come back to it. By the way, we have 1 minute left, so we're going to do that question, then I'm going to get back to, I'm going to do one more question, I'm going to get back to Airball for his question. And I want to say one thing, because I noticed, you know, you were talking about Steam reviews, and somebody said like, oof, don't read Steam reviews. Just so you guys know, we pretty much read every single Steam review. You know, like I'll sometimes just sit at home, you know, late at night, just open the beer and I'll just read through Steam. And, you know, it can sometimes be a mentally challenging, you know, task. Because sometimes, you know, you maybe see like a very glaring misunderstanding that caused a bad experience for that player, and you get this like overwhelming feeling of just wanting to reach through the computer and like give them a hug and say like, I'm really, really sorry that happened, you know. But like the best I can do is I can read it, I can understand that it happens, I can raise it with the team, and we can work a way to figure it out.
I thought you were going to say you were going to, you know, hit them through the screen.
No.
But just to add to that, I mean, not only Steam reviews, I mean, we are also reading on comments on social media and Reddit threads, and, you know, wherever people are talking about cards, we are dipping our nose in there and trying to figure out what's going on at any given time.
All right. I'm going to answer your other question, Erbal, and we'll get to the other one later. Can we, and this is going to be the last one before we say goodbye to you guys, can we get more missions and ways to gain gold? So I think this is a pretty interesting one. This is something that, like, in relation to the new progression systems, some people talked about like a lack of goal setting in the system, and we were a little bit perplexed. You know, it's like, wait, you have 100 goals to set. Your goal can be the next level, but it turns out that, like, people don't necessarily want to set their own goals. Sometimes they just want to be given goals. And maybe the UI kind of flow on how you interact with the progression tracks isn't quite there to give you that kind of goal-oriented feeling.
Yeah.
So we've kind of been looking into some ways to do that. And as Gummi talked about, like, maybe we can use the daily missions to give out rewards relating to the minor nations. Maybe we can use it to do something else.
I think we can use the missions. I think we can also add more goal setting back into the ladder. I'm very much in favor of that. And then we can also, like you say, improve the UI with the national progression system, so that it is more of a goal setting tool. So I think we have a lot of good options there, and we are definitely looking into it because it's feedback we've been getting and hearing that some people our players are lacking some goal setting.
All right, Gummi, any final words before we say goodbye?
No, just stay black.
Well, everybody, thank you so much for tuning in. I can't wait to experience Legions with you all. I can't wait to start the spoiler season next Monday and see what you guys think about the upcoming cards. The pre-orders are live in the client now. All the pre-orders do support us greatly, so if you have the chance, we are really, really thankful if you purchase one. So that's going to be it for us today. We will see you on the battlefield.